So, as we continue our conversation about the starting position opposite of Darius Slay, I bring forth the third candidate for the Philadelphia Eagles. This is not a new name. This is a guy who's been in the organization for 3 years. He's got a lot of game experience for the Eagles in those 3 years. But the question I want to get in today is he a fit for a man coverage system? All right, y'all. We're talking Rasul Douglas and his fit. Let's get it. What's up, Eagles Nation? What's going on, NFL world? How you doing, division rivals? This is Stephen Hyder with Gate City Sports Channel, the sports channel where the cerebral NFL fan comes for about 10 minutes of daily content. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whenever it is you get around to watching us. Once again, guys, my name is Stephen Hyder, and this is Gate City Sports Channel. All right, y'all, today's topic. Listen up, guys. We've talked about Sidney Jones. We've talked about Avante Maddox. But there's another guy who came in that same draft as Sidney Jones who has been productive, whether his productivity has been flawed or not, in Rasul Douglas. Rasul Douglas has taken the offseason to work with his footwork. He's taken time to work with the guy who worked with Nickel Roby-Coleman. I believe Darius Slay's guy, too. I think he's learned from him. To really work on his footwork. There are some reports, and I don't know if any of this stuff has been substantiated or true, that Rasul Douglas has lost some weight. I've heard reports as 5 pounds, 10 pounds, all the way up to 15 pounds. I don't know how much of this stuff is true, but it has been reported. No matter how, the truth of it is, the fact that he took the time to go work with someone on his footwork tells me a couple things. Number one, the fact that he restructured his contract, right? He restructured a rookie contract to his detriment. Tells me he wants to prove himself here. Number two, working with the guy during the offseason program on your footwork tells me he's taking this situation seriously and he wants to stick. And number three, this tells me we might honestly be in for more man coverage. Because when you watch the film, I thought Rasul Douglas was really, really good in zone, guys. Not so great in the man concepts. But we're going to get into that today, guys. I'm going to break down film. The game I'm going to analyze for you, it's going to be Week 16's matchup with the Dallas Cowboys. I thought there was a lot of good and a lot of bad. One thing that really hurt me about Rasul Douglas, guys, is that I thought he was kind of coming on in that game, and I liked what I saw to Rasul Douglas. But the irony is, he didn't come in until the middle of the second quarter, to where basically he came in as a nickelback, and I'm going to show you that. After that, he fills in for an injured Ronald Darby and plays out the rest of the game, right? They make things more ironic. Coming into the end of the second quarter, into the first drive of the third quarter, even Jalen Mills goes down, and now you got Sidney Jones and Rasul Douglas. And then Rasul Douglas went down towards the late fourth quarter on a hit. He tried to lay a major hit on somebody. Looks like to me a couple plays later, he's still shook up from it, and he's out of the game. In comes Sidney Jones and makes 2 clutch plays. So there's some irony there to this whole situation, but nonetheless, guys, I thought his play was actually pretty good, and I want to break it down for y'all. All right, y'all. Let's roll that film. All right, ladies and gents. The first thing I want to talk about with regards to Rasul Douglas is just the way that the Eagles became diverse with him in football games. There were a lot of unique things I want to show you guys, like subbing in players you wouldn't think that would be in there, right? The utilization of guys like Rodney McLeod up around the line of scrimmage, okay? Having him come down and play inside the nickel. Like, definitely he's a versatile guy, and I think the Eagles recognize that. And I think that goes into his favor. Like, you have to take things like that into account. As bad as I think restructuring a rookie contract is to your detriment, what it might say for your prospect, I do think that you can also say, well, giving a team flexibility with your versatility is a plus, though, as well. So I want to show you a little example of that versatility first, guys. All right, so here it goes. All right, ladies and gents. I want you to start off by looking at Dallas's offense. Dallas is coming out in a 12-man formation. This is second quarter. It's a first down play. We're midway through the second quarter at this point. Okay, you can see they got 2 tight ends in line. They got 2 receivers split off to the right-hand side of the offense. You got Zeke in the backfield with Dak Prescott. Look how the Eagles line up. That's a base package, guys. And the Eagles played a lot of base on first down against Dallas in this game. Okay? Look at your 3 linebackers to give away your dead giveaway that you're in base, right? You can see you got Nigel Bradham in the middle. You can see you got Nathan Gary, who's kind of playing over towards the will. And then on your strong side, I still think at this time, I think we're looking at Zach Brown still at this point. It's just fascinating to me that we went base package. But what's even more interesting is, look who's your free safety in this. That's Epps. Epps is your free safety, okay? Now look down and look who's playing in the nickel position. Yeah, that's Rasul Douglas. This is the kind of, versatility this young man can give you. He can give you this physical package you can bring in, because he does play with some physicality to him, to be quite honest about Rasul Douglas. Now, I want you to watch this film, as I run the film here. I will admit, I was really big on saying that Rasul Douglas should play a little more nickel and he should play a little more safety. And this is probably not the greatest, piece of film to support that claim. But nonetheless, you can see that I'm not the only person who believes this. Clearly, the Eagles they kind of get this too. Now, I will tell you this. Watch as Rasul Douglas drops back. All right. He's got to pass off that receiver. But what ends up happening is, it's a really good design by Dallas, don't get me wrong. But what's happening here, guys, and part of the problem is, he doesn't get deep enough in his set. And if you're not deep enough in your set, then you can't get over there to disrupt that throw. And that's why that's a good timing and rhythm throw there. One example of his versatility, guys. All right, guys. Now I want to focus on Rasul Douglas's zone coverage skills, because I do think it's a strength of his game. I think he plays really well with the ball in front of him. And I'm going to speed him up a little bit, guys, so just kind of really pay attention to the images and the graphics I'm sharing with you, because that'll help clue you in to help you see what I'm seeing. But I'm going to speed it up a little faster than I normally do, just because I want to get a few examples in there for you. And then we'll come back and we'll talk about man press and what I see good and the bad there, all right? So here we go. All right, guys, so this is late in the second quarter. This is a 2nd and 10 on Dallas's 30. Dallas comes out in 11-man personnel. You can see the tight end in line, those 3 wide receivers, the running back in the backfield. Look at the Eagles. The Eagles come out and we're going to cover 3. Look at Mills, look at Rasul, look at McLeod. There's your 3 deep, okay? Now watch as the film rolls. Depth is good. He's in a good area. He's got a speed receiver in Michael Gallup. Perfect positioning. That's what you should look like in a zone coverage scheme. This is why I think that there's been a lot of growth with this young man. All right, guys, this time we're pretty much in a red zone kind of situation here. I'm not going to talk too much about Dallas's formation. It doesn't matter in this particular play. I want you to take a look at what the Eagles do, right? They're going to give a little cover 2 kind of weird inverted thing. It's almost like a Tampa 2, because if you kind of watch how this all shakes out, how they disguise the coverage, I'll roll the film a little bit, right? Now off the snap, what you get is you got Malcolm in the middle. You got 2 of those safeties there playing in cover 2. So it's almost like a Tampa 2 with those 3. And now watch the way that Rasul Douglas plays that boundary, okay? This was a really good job of his zone coverage here, because he's in a rough spot, right? He's got to cover that corner. And after he notices that corner, it's not a possibility. Now he's got to get down there and defend that flat. I thought this was a really good example of Rasul Douglas doing a great job here. All right, once again, Dallas comes out in 11-man personnel, 3 receivers, 1 tight end, 1 running back, right? Eagles return the favor. They're in a cover 3. Look at Rasul Douglas. I mean, this is good depth. He's right there. I mean, this is a really good coverage on Michael Gallup. And you can tell Dak wanted to put the ball down that way, guys. And he's got to dump it off as a result. I mean, I thought this was really great coverage by him. And perfect depth. Everything about it looked great in that zone coverage. All right, guys, I'm going to flip the script now, and I'm going to show you some man coverage issues. This is what I'll say about Rasul Douglas. There was good and bad in man coverage. The one thing I'll say about him is he's a physical guy, and he thrives on contact. He does well in press situations. However, it is a good thing that he is working with someone on his footwork, guys, because there were a couple instances in this game where his footwork got sloppy, and he got beat. Michael Gallup was definitely taking advantage of him. I thought he played a lot better on Amari Cooper, because I don't think Amari Cooper has the same agility that you could see clearly coming out of Gallup. So we'll take a look at this, guys. I'll flip it around and I'll show you everything. So the Dallas Cowboys come out in 11-man personnel again. The Eagles single high safety. Looks like they're really playing cover one concept, a man concept to me. Look at the bottom of your screen. You will see Michael Gallup one-on-one with Rasul Douglas down there. Michael Gallup's going to use something, to me, it looks like it's just, from what I teach my receivers, this looks like a diamond release, okay? A diamond release is just trace your hand and make a shape of a diamond, guys, right? So it's an outside release at first, so that way you can get the corner to open his hips and then come right back across his body right to the front. This is a great, great technique to use for slant routes, okay? It works a lot of the times. Now I want you to watch. Watch the release off the line of scrimmage. Look at Rasul Douglas's hips. If your hips look like this, you're in trouble. You have opened up the gateway way too far. You're about to get burnt. So what's going to happen is, and I'll run the film for you again, guys. You're going to get him plant his foot. He's going to turn it back inside on that slant. And now you got Rasul Douglas in the trailing technique. This is really bad man coverage skills, guys. This is where you have to work on your footwork. This is something you don't want to see happen more than a handful of times throughout the course of a year, because that means it's a systemic issue with your fundamentals and your footwork. This is why I think he's out there seeking assistance for this type of stuff, guys. All right, guys, I want to give you one more example where in this game I saw some issues with his footwork in man, and this one came against Tavon Austin. And if you notice a theme here, the guys with a little more agility and speed are the ones that really kind of caught Rasul Douglas. But I don't think it's necessarily an issue with his speed as much as it is his footwork and man that gets him in trouble more so than other things. Now, this is what I'll say about this one. Tavon Austin uses a technique that's called rapid foot fire. It's a 3-step initial release off the line, right? It's normally like a left, right, left, right, left, right. It's a quick succession footsteps. But the point is while you're doing that, you're supposed to be advancing and closing the distance on that corner, while at the same time trying to get his hips off. If you can get him to lean inside if you're releasing outside on a route, you got him. If you can get him to release outside when you're releasing inside on a route, you got him. Tavon gets him on this. All right, guys, look to your top side of your screen. You can see Dallas is in what looks like to be 11-man, 3 receivers, 1 tight end, 1 receiver, or 1 running back, although their tight end is also kind of, he's lined up tight to the formation, but nonetheless split out. Look at the top side of your screen, the field side. Okay, you can see you got Tavon Austin at the top against Rasul Douglas. It looks like the Eagles are playing cover 1 to me here, right? Single high safety, cover 1, a man concept, all right? Now, what I want you to do is just watch the release off the line of scrimmage. You'll see those 3 succession steps to where you can see Tavon Austin wants to gain outside leverage. So that way he can get him on a fly route. I don't know why Rasul bites on this so hard, but he does. And you can see it's his footwork that really gets him in trouble, because if you're leaning like this, you're in trouble. You can't be this far off. If your body positioning and your hip positioning looks like this, you got beat really bad. Fortunately for us, Dak missed the crap out of this throw. But nonetheless, man, I can see why he's working on his footwork. You can see the evidence right here. All right, guys, one last thing I want to show you is I want to give an example of when I thought Rasul Douglas did pretty well in man coverage, because when you give him a chance to be physical, he can do things, and he really disrupted Amari Cooper in this game. Amari was trying to get physical back with him, but it's not Amari's style. And Rasul Douglas did really well getting physical. I do think that there is some hope, and I thought he did develop in man coverage throughout the course of the year. Although I showed a lot of bad here in man coverage, there was some good too, but I got to be straightforward and honest about it. All right, ladies and gents, if you look over here at the Cowboys, 11-man personnel again. Yes, the Cowboys play a lot of 11-man guys. You got 3 receivers, 1 running back, tight end. The tight end is in line to the bottom side of the screen. That bottom side of your screen is where you will find Amari Cooper lined up on Rasul Douglas. Now, that is the boundary side this time of the field, not the field side. Now, what I want you to see is, because you're playing the boundary, there's not as much space to protect, right? So now you can get way more physical on a receiver. Rasul excelled here, guys. Watch as I run the film. Look at how physical he is off this line of scrimmage. Okay? This is Rasul at his best. This is Rasul's game right here. Now, I will say this. Amari Cooper is a fast receiver, but just judging from the film, his game speed is not quite to the level of a Tavon Austin. It's not quite to the level of a, Michael Gallup. He's a much better receiver, though, than those two, overall receiver. Now, Rasul keeps fighting through this. They're hand fighting. Look down here. Look at the bottom of the way this finishes out. And you can see the fiery competitiveness of Rasul Douglas. That's one of the big things I really do like about Rasul Douglas is this kid has a fiery fighting spirit, and that can never be overlooked. All right, guys, that concludes our video on Rasul Douglas. I'll give you some takeaway kind of things that I think about this. I would put him third or fourth in line. You can argue between him and Trevor Williams, but I know the devil that is Rasul Douglas, so I'm going to put him third right now. If the Eagles were switching more to a zone-based scheme, I think Rasul Douglas would have a much higher chance at making this roster. And even if he doesn't become the starter or anything, it doesn't mean he won't make the roster. I should be a little careful the way I say that. What I will say is this. When I look at man coverage ability,